Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today is a very special one because after 7 years I'm finally back in California. Our trip started very early in the morning. We were lucky enough to have a direct flight to LA, which sounds amazing until you realize it's almost 12 hours long. The flight itself was actually really nice. We had snacks, lunch and dinner. I watched a few movies, but honestly the highlight was looking out of the window. Once we were flying over Greenland, the views became absolutely incredible. I couldn't stop staring outside. And then as we approached the US and even flew over Las Vegas, the excitement became very real. And just like that, we were finally in Los Angeles. The weather was actually pretty gloomy and cloudy, which isn't exactly the LA weather, but honestly I didn't care. I was just so happy to be back. Right after landing, we picked up our rental car and yes, we rented a Tesla Model Y with full self-driving. We really wanted to try it out and the first few minutes were honestly terrifying. Watching the car drive itself felt so strange. We were especially nervous on the huge highways with like 8 lanes in every direction. After about an hour, we arrived at our apartment, which was absolutely beautiful. We quickly stopped at Walmart for some essentials, grabbed something to eat, and after being awake for more than 24 hours, we went straight to bed. The next morning started one of the best papayas I've ever had. We spent the day exploring stores like Target, Marshalls, and TJ Maxx. After that, we checked out the rooftop area of our apartment building, which has pools, gym, and amazing views. There were barely any people there, so it almost felt like we had the whole place to ourselves. And if you know me, you know I was just excited about the food as I was about the trip itself. Later, we visited a Mexican grocery store called Vallarta, where we found fresh tortilla chips, guacamole, salsa, tons of fruit, and even vanilla to bring home. I also finally tried a little dessert I had seen all over TikTok. That evening, I decided to check out the gym. The treadmill even had virtual hiking and running routes from around the world, which I thought was so cool. Afterwards, I watched the city lights from the rooftop and honestly, the view completely took my breath away. The next day, we headed to Calabasas and visited the most famous grocery store in California, Erewhon. And yes, it looked exactly how I imagined it would. Everything was aesthetic, organized, and honestly kind of beautiful for a grocery store. Of course, we came for the smoothies. We tried the strawberry glazed smoothie, Malibu mango, and coconut cloud smoothie. And even though they were expensive, they were absolutely worth it. Afterwards, we explored the Commons and Calabasas and stopped at the La La Land Cafe for matcha. The cafe was beautiful, the drinks were amazing, and while we were sitting outside, a popular YouTuber was filming nearby, which was pretty funny to watch. After that, we made a quick stop at Trader Joe's and then headed home because we had a very early start the next day. The next morning, we woke up before sunrise because we were heading to Griffith Observatory. We arrived around 6 in the morning, it was freezing cold, but watching the sunrise over LA was absolutely worth it. Afterwards, we continued to a hike near the Hollywood sign. Walking through the hills surrounded by nature and those iconic views felt surreal. Standing beneath the Hollywood sign was one of those moments where I didn't feel real. It's something I had seen in movies my entire life and now I was finally there in person. Later that day, we visited one of the oldest streets in LA because it's home to the famous house from Charmed. As someone who loved that show growing up, I honestly couldn't believe I was standing right in front of it. The street itself was beautiful and full of historical homes. We also made a stop at Donut Friend for vegan donuts and shakes and wow, those donuts completely exceeded my expectations. They were fluffy, not overly sweet and probably some of the best donuts I ever had. One of my favorite places from the entire trip was definitely the Huntington Library and Botanical Gardens. Right now, we are at the Huntington Library and Gardens in Pasadena, and look how beautiful this looks like. I honestly don't think words can fully describe how beautiful this place is. Every section felt completely different, yet equally stunning. There are so many areas like the Japanese garden, the Chinese garden, there is like Australian gardens, and It's just so beautiful. It was peaceful, relaxing, and one of those places where you could spend hours without even noticing the time pass. We spent almost 4 hours there before heading back home completely exhausted. The following day we took a day trip to San Diego.
Every time, but it just doesn't work, and I know you're wondering if it's really worth all of the hurt, but this is the point.
On the way there we stopped in Encinitas, where surfers were out enjoying the waves and the ocean views were absolutely beautiful. Once we arrived in San Diego, our first stop was La Jolla Cove, famous for its sea lions. Seeing them up close was so much fun, and the coastline itself was stunning. Of course, we couldn't skip In and Out, where I ordered a grilled cheese from the not-so-secret menu. After lunch, we explored Balboa Park, which is filled with museums, gardens, incredible architecture, and so many beautiful walking paths. Later we headed down to the waterfront, where we saw the historical ships, cruise liners, and the most famous kissing statue. The views of downtown San Diego from the harbor were incredible. Before heading back, we crossed the Coronado Bridge to Coronado Island. The entire place felt like it belonged in the show The Summer Isn't Pretty. We walked along Coronado Beach just before sunset, and even though the water was freezing, the atmosphere was absolutely perfect. Then it was time to make our way back home. The next day, we visited Laguna Beach, specifically Treasure Island Beach. This place was breathtaking. The cliffs, the caves, the ocean, everything looked like a postcard. We spent a few hours relaxing there, enjoying the sunshine and taking in the views. The following day was visiting the brand new Chamberlain Coffee location in Venice. It had only been open for a few days, so naturally we had to check it out. I ordered a cold brew with vanilla cold foam and a cinnamon roll, and everything was so delicious. On the way back, we saw our first driverless taxi, which was honestly so cool to see. Later, we spent some time in Beverly Hills, walking along the famous palm-lined streets and soaking in the atmosphere.
Things were different. What made you change it up? How could I believe what you're showing me? Yeah. Call me up, said I was dangerous. Toss up, have you lost the trust? How could I not see?
That evening, we also visited my cousin and his adorable dogs, which immediately became the highlight of my day. Then it was time to head home. What should have been a 15-minute drive turned into almost an hour, but at least we got to enjoy the beautiful views of downtown LA at night. One of the most unique experiences of the trip was our visit to Catalina Island. We took a ferry from Long Beach, and after about an hour we arrived in Erewhon. The weather finally cleared up and the island looked absolutely beautiful. The streets were lined with small shops, cafes, and surprisingly golf carts everywhere. Very few people actually drive cars there. The whole island had this relaxed European summer vibe that made it feel completely different from the rest of the Southern California. We made one last stop at the beach, and then all that was left was the trip back home.
How do we get here and how do we stay? I don't wanna rush things, but I don't wanna wait for you. How do I know that your feelings could change? I don't know, but I hope so. You think you know it all, and you're probably right on most things, but you haven't.
That evening, I met up with a friend. We grabbed a coffee and a cake, and she showed me an amazing viewpoint overlooking LA, as well as some beautiful views around Universal Studios. Before we knew it, our final days arrived. We spent one full day doing all the last-minute shopping at Ross, TJ Maxx, Target, and Nordstrom Rack. For lunch, we stopped by Whole Foods. I absolutely love this supermarket because you can basically grab any kind of food to go, and the selection is huge. The rest of the day we spent relaxing by the pool, enjoying the sunshine and making the most of it.
I see your face again. I see your face again. I see your face.
And these are all the things we end up buying and bringing home with us. Honestly, I couldn't have brought back so much more.
I see your face.
And then suddenly it was time to go home. We returned the Tesla, grabbed one last Starbucks at the airport and boarded our flight back to Europe. As the plane took off, I honestly couldn't believe the trip was already over. LA will always be one of my favorite places in the world. No matter how many times I visit, I know I'll never get tired of it. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoy coming along on this California adventure with us. See you in the next video. Bye!